Hey, hello. I'm Jay Haley from Palmore Institute. This video is for our Newstime reading class. And in this video, I'm going to introduce an article and we'll be talking about some of the vocabulary and some of the information in it. Now, first off, I think it's important to say it's good to well, not see you, but to be in contact with you again. I hope you're all doing okay and staying healthy, and hopefully we can be together again soon in class. Now, I imagine you might be a little bit tired of coronavirus news, and it's been filling the news recently, let's be honest. Hey, I'm a little tired of it too. However, I found a really pretty good article that about the COVID-19 outbreak and some effects it's having on society. I chose this article because it's an interesting one, and it doesn't focus too much on the sickness itself and the pandemic. Rather, one of its more interesting effects. So, let me introduce the article real quick to you. The headline says, flushing out the true cause of the global toilet paper shortage amid coronavirus pandemic. This one came from the Washington Post. I saw it earlier this month. It was in the April 7th edition, and it's written by Mark Fisher. Now, it really is a pretty good interpretation of what's going on with one of the more unusual effects of the coronavirus epidemic, the toilet paper shortage that we were experiencing not too long ago. Luckily, I was just at the supermarket this morning, bought some nice big roll of toilet paper. There was plenty of it in the store. Hopefully things are okay. But just a couple weeks ago, this wasn't so. Also, a cool thing in this article is it does get into human psychology and just the way people behave, and so it's got some really interesting things. It's not too dark on the corona thing, so don't give up on the video. Stick with us, and I think you will enjoy the article. Now, as a good first step, what I would recommend is that you go online, find the article online, and read it first. Go ahead and read it, and then once you're done with reading it, come on back, watch this video, and some of the more difficult things and the more interesting points will be explained. So go ahead and do that, and when you're ready, come back and watch the rest of this video. Oh, also, I should say, it's a longish article. It's about twice as long as we usually do in class, but it's a good one. But I'll be breaking this video up into probably two parts to keep it a reasonable length. Okay, so let's take a look at flushing out the true cause of global toilet paper shortage amid coronavirus pandemic. Great place to get going here is with a little vocabulary. There is some vocabulary in the headline itself, and let me explain these three words that you see. Actually, let's do it from the easiest word to the hardest one. So I wanted to just start with the word amid. Amid is just a different way to say during the coronavirus pandemic. Secondly, this word pandemic. I think this word has entered Japanese and is probably one that you're familiar with. If not, you should be. It's a really big word these days in the news. But a pandemic is an event in which an infectious disease spreads worldwide or spreads over a really large portion of the globe. Okay. Lastly, flushing out. Okay. If you flush something out, it just means you're analyzing it. You're searching for the cause of the phenomenon or the cause of the situation. Now, it's got a nice double meaning here because flushing is also what you do with the toilet when you're done. Flush the toilet. So this one thing I like about this article, this author is a very playful use of words. It's really well written. I don't get a vote for a Pulitzer Prize, but if I did, this might be one of the Palmore Pulitzer Prize from Newstime reading class awards for this year. It's really a good read. Okay. In paragraph one, at the end of the paragraph, you are going to find what is the thesis statement of this whole article. It's the main idea of what the article is about. So let me tell you what it is. It's this sentence here. Toilet paper, or rather the lack of it, turns out to reveal a great deal about who we are and how we behave in a crisis. And again, this is what I like about this article. It investigates not just the pandemic itself, but also partly what the pandemic is showing about humanity or human nature. Okay. One thing they talk about in the first couple paragraphs is how some people go into the store, go into a supermarket, they buy a whole bunch of toilet paper, all kinds of rolls, and they get all the way to the checkout. And they kind of realize what they're doing, maybe because they see the cashier or they see the other people. And for whatever reason, some of them anyway, will go back and put back some toilet paper and buy only a reasonable amount. So that's one thing it seems to show about human behavior. It's a good thing. But as we'll see in the rest of the article, there are some darker sides as well. Also in paragraph 1, you're going to find this word footnote. It describes the toilet paper shortage as probably ranking as just a footnote in the history of the coronavirus pandemic. When we describe something as a footnote, and I've actually added the number 1 there to show you what a footnote looks like, but a footnote is extra non-essential information. It's provided at the bottom of the page usually, or sometimes in the back of the book, and it's regarded as less important than the text above, and you could probably skip the footnote without missing anything important. So what the author's saying here is that when the history of this pandemic is written, probably toilet paper shortage will be just a minor point for people to look at, although a couple weeks ago it seemed a lot more important. Skipping down a bit to paragraph 5, there's part of a sentence where they're describing toilet paper as being something people really feel they can't do without. Now, if you can't do without something, it means it's an absolute necessity, and people think, I need toilet paper. I understand. Paragraph 6, great word, highfalutin. Highfalutin. Now, I've decided to define highfalutin as being pompous, pretentious, bombastic, or haughty. Wait a minute. Those are highfalutin words. No, highfalutin just means unnecessarily fancy. Like you're showing off, like you're showing how good you are. Like I can know these big words like pompous or pretentious or bombastic or haughty. They're all kind of overly fancy words in some way. It's not everyday basic English. If you describe something as highfalutin, you're describing it as, well, just overly fancy. My image of the word highfalutin is a word that I really don't use a lot. To me, it's a kind of cowboy word out of old Western movies. However, it does depend on what part of the English-speaking world you come from. In some places, people actually do use this word highfalutin, although I probably won't use it myself. It's a cool word to know, though. Paragraph 7. In paragraph 7, they're talking about how people could buy toilet paper in, of all places, a little hardware store. Now, when we use that phrase, of all places, we're talking about a place which is very surprising to us. Hardware stores are not usually where I would go, especially small hardware stores are not places I would go to buy toilet paper. It's great for a hammer or nails or tools, but not toilet paper. There's an example sentence here. I found my cell phone in my pocket of all places. This is, describing the situation where you're searching for something or searching. My cell phone's lost. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm looking everywhere. And boom, it's in my pocket of all places. All right. Paragraph 7. In paragraph 7, this phrase comes up: single ply. Single ply and double ply. Very important in the world of toilet paper. If your toilet paper is single ply, it means it has one layer. Okay, double ply toilet paper has 2 layers, softer and nicer. Okay, so just compare that with double ply versus single ply. As we get into paragraph 9, it talks about some very interesting research and surprising research into the world of toilet paper. This phrase comes up: fleets of. If you talk about fleets of something, it's fleets of means a large number of that thing. A fleet is what you see here in the slide. It's usually a bunch of ships, usually warships. If you take all the warships from one country, put them together, hey, that's the fleet. It's going to be a large number. Another word in paragraph 9 talks about something called quants. Now, quant, it's short for quantitative. It refers to numbers. And quants are people. They're people who are experts in applied mathematics. That is, they're taking high-level mathematics and using it for some everyday things like stock trading or figuring out insurance rates and things like that. So, in looking at this slide, if you can look at this slide and at a glance understand these mathematical equations, well, you might just be ready for a career, a high-paying career as a quant. Now, with the quants, it also gets into this idea of a staple. Okay. This also will come from the same sentence. Staple here just means it's a basic component of something. It's very often food, and the example is rice. Rice is a staple of the Japanese diet. Okay, so getting back to the quants. The quants are researching. This is a quote out of paragraph 9. The quants who have studied the quote-unquote toilet paper problem for years, asking why some people in public restrooms take from the larger, fuller roll, while others use the roll that's closer to empty. These quants are focused on why the supply chain has broken down. Okay, so first, I didn't know there was something known as the toilet paper problem, but it's an interesting psychological thing. If you're in a restroom, there are 2 rolls of toilet paper. One is full, one is less full. Which one would you choose? Well, quants are investigating that, and also the toilet paper supply chain. A second group out of paragraph 9 are psychologists. And it says, psychologists are curious why TP, not exactly essential to sustaining human life, ranks right up there with milk and bread in our panic buying behaviors. Yeah, TP, very common nickname for toilet paper. And, it's an interesting question. When panic buying happens, apparently these are the big 3: milk, bread, and toilet paper. So why toilet paper if it's not so essential as milk and bread, or perhaps rice? Okay. Last out of paragraph 9, a third group doing some interesting thinking about toilet paper are social historians. And this quote says, social historians look at why people came to view toilet tissue as vital when it didn't even become a household staple until the 1940s. Okay, staple again means a basic product. And apparently until the 1940s, toilet paper was not such a basic necessity. More about that a little later toward the end of this article. Okay. Paragraph number 11 rather. they have this phrase to run you. Now, to run someone means just to cost someone. Uh, they give you an example here. It's in the article. They're talking about a cafe in Australia, and this cafe, at least not so long ago, was taking toilet paper as payment for coffee. So it says a cup of coffee will run you 3 rolls. A cup of coffee will cost you 3 rolls of toilet paper. Also in paragraph 11, there's this word crooks. Now, crooks just means criminal. In the story they're talking about, this one I believe was in Hong Kong, and it says armed crooks held up a supermarket, and all they took, no money, just toilet paper, 600 rolls of toilet paper. So, 2 examples of human behavior in a toilet paper shortage. Toilet paper as money, and toilet paper being the only thing crooks are interested in. Okay, one last point before we take a little break. Paragraph 13, there's this word flush. Okay. Here the sentence is demand is as flush as supply is bare. Now flush and bare are opposites, and flush means full of. Okay, so demand is very high, supply is very low. That's what this one is saying. Once again, good use of a double meaning. Flush supply is a very common expression, or flush demand is also a very common expression, but flush has this double meaning of what you do when you're finished using the toilet. You flush. Okay, that's a great place to take a little pause. We're about halfway through the article. In the next video, I'll continue with the story. So thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.